Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and not Nakamura. What the hell do we care now, guys? We are getting set for the weekend. We've had some content on the channel recently where we've been reacting to the Brendan Rodgers' press conferences, and it's been laden with some drama, some like soap opera drama. But today, we've got the chance to do it with some actual team news, some actual tactical stuff has happened, and it's really shaking up the dynamic of pre-match going away to Ross County, our first away game in a short while. And I thought, fantastic. I look forward to doing this. And hopefully you guys, most of you will be watching this after we've been live. So fist bump to all of you guys. Please do, if you do enjoy this content, hit the like button, get involved in the comment section. And, you know, basically the more we can tell people like it, the more we'll tend to do it. So I'm looking forward to the fact that this is a proper Celtic press conference we can have a listen to and take the developments for the game itself, tactics, and just the squad outlook. January transfer policy is mentioned. The Kyogo thing is mentioned as well, and less of the soap opera drama, which is not what we're here for. So, without further ado, fist bumps to everyone on arrival. If you are watching us live, of course, feel free to get into the live chat and react alongside with me here today. I've already watched the thing in full, so I kind of know the main things that get brought up in this. But in case any of you are watching this for the first time, or you want to talk about it, again, feel free. See if, as well, when you're watching this back after we've been live, the comment section is open, okay? And see if you can timestamp what happens in the video. Like, see if something here happens that you want to talk about. Maybe it's something I've said. Maybe it's something that's being said. If you just put 5:::14 in a YouTube comment, it gives you a timestamp. So then whenever you're talking to anyone else in the live chat that's responding to you or me or whatever, can click on that and hear exactly what it is you're referring to as well. And the comment section here is absolute flames. It's absolute fire. So it's just a wee thing as well, just to help any of you that are watching this after we've been live. So we've did this kind of half unorganized, it's not like we scheduled it and knowing like, oh yeah, we'll definitely do this. Because it's been a busy day for me, and I kind of overlooked it, to be honest with you. When it came out, I thought, fantastic. Let's get live and loud and let's do some proper tactical analysis to the game that we've got coming up. So yeah, and let's get stuck into it.
Brendan, how's the squad looking ahead of the game tomorrow? How's Nicolas Kuhn?
Yeah, him and Daizen are doubts for the game, so we just have to finalise where they're at. But both those are doubtful. Not longer term, but should be hopefully okay for Tuesday if they miss out tomorrow. Louis Palma sadly had a bereavement overnight, so he won't travel with the squad. James Forrest still out, but apart from that, all good.
Leave you a bit short in the wide areas then for the game tomorrow.
Listen,
that's the breaking news. Of course, the main headline coming out of this: Daizen Maeda and Kuhn are unavailable, and Lewis Palma has had a family bereavement. Thoughts and prayers with him and the family. I generally, in transfer season, I don't generally tend to believe official lines on players' absences and whereabouts and all the rest of it. Condolences with him. Hope everything's okay, and everyone's, condolences and that. But still, if he arrived in Vallecano tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised. It's just it's just the reality of the January transfer window. We've seen crazier things happen, but that is a huge spanner in the works for us this weekend, because when we did the predicted lineup on the channel, where we're talking about how there isn't actually much choice on the wings, and you kind of just have to paint by numbers and manage the minutes as best you can. This is the team we ended up going with right now. This morning, I've just had this hunch, and then when I seen that Luke McKeown did the player press conference, I've just got this mad feeling that McKeown is going to be involved, and I thought it was going to be for Hatate. I thought we're going to see the same midfield duet again. We're going to see Engels on the left, McKeown on the right, and we're going to get similar to what we spoke about in terms of what we got from the centre-backs playing together 2 games in a row. A bit of a partnership, maybe building in midfield. But with the news that Daizen is out the game, Yang, of course, still is. We were 50-50 on Kuhn probably not getting risked for this game all the same anyway, and probably Kyogo being fancied over Ida. It really does just throw back into question what the front line is going to look like, because Adam Ida comes back into the picture, and you've got to think in these types of situations, Kyogo could be started out wide. It's not unimaginable. I do want to put this name in really quickly. Johnny Kenny is in the building somewhere, so maybe he's from the bench, later on in the game, or who knows at this stage as well. We did mention on the predicted 11 video we did last night as well, like why Valle, who wears the number 11, doesn't get more minutes over Palma, let's say, in the left wing position, supplementing for Daizen. So I think you can maybe even bring him into the equation. We did see Luke McKeown play right wing for spells in the last match. that maybe does open the door back for Hatate to come back into the fold. So really now, and would you add Adam Montgomery into this equation? I'm not too sure you would. James Forrest is confirmed out as well, but it really now, like, predicting the team is actually very interesting now, isn't it? It's very difficult, and it's a good match for the squad to be tested in. So let's see what the manager says about the rest of it, see if we get any tells or any hints towards preferences or, you know, the actual lay of the land.
I just think at this moment in time and throughout the season, there's never a perfect situation, you know, whether it's pitches, whether it's squad, whether it's injuries or not. You can't wait for everything to be perfect. You know, we got a good squad of players, and we'll go into the game and with the mentality to win, whoever is playing.
When you came in there, you said this is the real test. You got to go up to the Highlands. It was -7 this morning here in Glasgow. What are you expecting tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm sure Roy and Don will be welcoming us up there to Dingwall. I love the journey up. The journey's it's a fantastic drive up, and they're always tough games. You know, if you look at Don and his team, they produced some fantastic results of late. They're only a few points off what would be the top 6, so they've been on a nice little consistent run. Will be hard to beat. Pitch won't be perfect, but like I say, we can't wait for anything else. So they defend very well. They play a 5-diamond-1, so lots of bodies behind the ball. And
so 5-diamond-1 is what he expects us to be up against. Okay, now if I can open another tab on this easy enough, which I can show you what the predicted lineup is for Ross Courtney as well. So I think that's an interesting element, because if we are like, you know, if we are the bird that's had our wings clipped, if you can go along with me in the imagery here, then playing against a team that is 5-diamond-1. So what that means is in midfield, it's a tight diamond. You know, there's no wide midfielders necessarily. And the width comes from the fullbacks. So against a team that might not actually like have much of a threat back there, maybe actually helps us in a big way as well. Now it's displayed here as a 5-3-2. Jordan White is certainly a striker, so I'd imagine that this Silvers guy is maybe a bit deeper, and then maybe one of these guys drops a bit deeper to form that kind of midfield diamond. But this is essentially what Rodgers is expecting, and really, like, yeah, it's not perfect conditions, but it's certainly not terrible, I would suggest as well. So maybe that does lean into a little bit more that something like Kyogo could play out there, because then you're just telling Kyogo to be up front, essentially, aren't you? You know, against this sort of system away from home.
We'll make it difficult, so we have to use the speed in our game and use the quality in our game to hopefully break through that.
To borrow your phrase in the other day,
Great comment here from Youngie, by the way. If all the wide players are out, do we change shape? Do you know, like, I think if McKeown was to start right wing and then play Yang on the left, then you could maybe just about do, or yeah, Kyogo and Ida 4-4-2, like play McKeown on the right, maybe even just drop Yang and play Hatate on the left, and then Engels and McGregor centre mid, just like a tight 4. They've got a 4 diamonds, so we just fight diamonds with diamonds. Is that what we're saying? I like that shout.
Dingwall's no place for dicky balls, is it?
It's good, isn't it? There you go. Yeah, well, you certainly don't win any points for style. These games at this time of the year, there's no points for style. We always want to go and play and win in the best way that we possibly can. Always the nature of our game. But ultimately, this will be about resilience and mentality and getting through the tough moments in the game and looking to be as attack-minded as we possibly can be.
It seems like it's been going really well at the moment.
As attack-minded as we can be, you know. The Kyogo, Ida, maybe not necessarily like laid out on the board like the starting 11, 2 up top, but like, you know how they'll behave on the ball generally. Like maybe Kyogo hugs the touchline and darts inside. I don't see it. I see him kind of just doing what he normally does, but from more of a, don't cross the line here situation, stay over in this zone, perhaps. But yeah, attack mind.
Speaking to guys like Jim Goodwin and Stuart Kettlewell, I'm starting to think this fixture list through this period from December right through to now and beyond is a little bit ridiculous. Is that something that you're kind of echoing as well? You look at this list of games and the sheer volume over this period, is it a bit much?
Well, my bigger picture thought on it is that we used to be up here we knew always December was going to be a hard schedule, getting through all of that. And then you had your New Year's game, and then normally then you'd have virtually a couple of weeks to reset, refresh, and then go again for the second part of the season. To then actually have even more games in that period now where you had a break, it is a real challenge. You can't deny that. You think we've got this game here, we've got 3 games in 6 days, so we play Saturday, and then we're on the travels again on Tuesday night. Now we will do everything we can to produce the best performances, results, and be focused on that as we possibly can be. However, it is a real heavy schedule, and as I said, it's there, so we have to get on with it. But it's certainly not ideal for what I'd say in terms of the support base to get the best level of games that they possibly can get. So, but we just, as I said, we have to get on with it.
It's almost inevitable, Brendan, that the quality of these games is impacted because if the players have got no time to recover. I mean, obviously, you've got a bigger squad than the likes of Jim Goodwin at Dundee United. He was talking about this last week, having to rotate players, not being able to get to that maximum level. And it's almost inevitable the amount of games everybody's facing at the moment.
Yeah. And I think on a different scale ourselves also, we have to rotate, we have to change because of the level of games that we will play in and the number of games that we play in. So it's, but yeah, it's the product. You want to produce the best product that you can, and that can be a challenge. And when you have so many fixtures.
Would you take an earlier start to the league season, maybe in July a wee bit, just to get a bit of maybe a break or less games at this time of the season?
Well, I think because of how I understand there's obviously more. The Champions League has now been extended, so that puts in a couple of extra games in the January. So that took away for that. Yeah, it's catch-22. I felt that we could have started later. We actually we start.
The real problem here, by the way, is the league structure. Playing every team 3 times before the split, just so that we get 4 derby matches for the TV company, is so counterproductive at this stage. He's going to come on to talk about some other stuff as well. I'll just kind of reference at this point, I suppose. But number one, the Scottish League should be so much more agile with the amount of teams, especially this year, right? And this is something that if we don't do it next year, there should be serious revolt, but the amount of teams in Europe this year, or the amount of leagues in Europe, I beg your pardon, that will play their Champions League teams that play Tuesday night on the Friday, so that they all have that kind of equal distance to their match day so they can prepare correctly. And we have not a shred of that at all, for a variety of reasons, I'm sure. But I think really you can't start the league much earlier, because Brendan's just telling you he thought it could have actually started later. And when you look at when the league finished, there's just no winter break now because of the League Cup, the Scottish Cup, Champions League, and then this 33 games you've got to run through before you split. Because the important part about that split element, right, is see if you change the dynamic of Scottish football to be, just for talking sake, say an 18-team top division, which I would make a strong argument, I believe, that you could do with some of the legacy clubs that are in the lower divisions at the moment, infrastructure-wise, and if they were successful, I suppose, appetite-wise as well. Then you're only on for 36 games in a season, which is really standard across European football. And then that is just much easier to manage over an entire season, rather than there's a deadline where you have to have 33 games played so that we can then determine the final set of fixtures. That is a kind of pressure on the calendar in and itself that you just don't have any ability to relieve. And if we had a bigger league and you didn't have to have 4 derby matches guaranteed for TV companies, then you would have, and again, that would be way more interesting. Imagine only playing, that's probably the biggest problem with Scottish football is an entertainment product, is playing Ross County 3 times a season and all the other bottom 6 teams, and then playing the top 6 teams 4 times a season. Especially when you then meet them in cups and all the rest of it, it's Groundhog Day. Scottish football, that's a big part of it, which is part of the strength and mental fortitude that the team needs, I suppose, to keep on producing the high levels, not thinking I've already beat this mob 2 or 3 times this year. You know, you need to, or last year we beat them every week or whatever. You need to keep that on. Yeah, exactly. Like I think Strangelove, me and you drink the same tea quite often on these sorts of topics. Those reasons being can't give them, and as I'm sorry, Bob. I've kind of lost what that was in reference to. I'm sorry. Yeah, totally. Oh God, did we not just play? Yeah, exactly. Like it's like that all the time. Like it feels like now we're playing a team called Dundee every week. You know, like if you look at the fixture list, it's just incredible. So that's really the problem, you know, and maybe no one's really cognizant of it too much, but you can't start it earlier, you can't start it later, and you can't take a break in the middle. It's not working, you know, like, and we've been talking about how we've got our best squad ever, depth-wise, strength and depth-wise, and athletically, I don't think there's any question that this Celtic team, like, as an athletic endeavour, would wipe the floor with probably every other Celtic team that history has known, just the way that sports science and technologies went. So yeah, that's the kind of elephant in the room where I sit.
Earlier than say some of the other leagues, so I felt that extra little period. You know, we get to the Scottish Cup final and then we're back in before the end of June. So yeah, it's definitely increasing. There's absolutely no question about that, and the demands on players, but.
It doesn't need to be 38 games, but we're strong with 36, like, or 34. 34 is a bit slim. That's like the slimmest you'll find a top tier division. 38's nice, but like, really, what's the difference between 38 and 36? So one home game, one away game against, you know, pick whatever I suppose it'd be, no. If you're up to 18, it'd be 36. That's what I, no. Yeah, it would be 36. I'm tripping out there now. 20, 19, oh, no. Yeah. I'm with you. But yeah, all the same, it's a very small margin of games. I wouldn't really, nothing lost, nothing gained. And then just by having it, that one team, 2 teams less, it just gives you that extra little bit of freedom within the calendar where you can maybe mark out a week or 2 and have a wee break, you know. Maybe now with the way the calendar's scheduled now, we all kind of need to get our heads readjusted, kind of like, you know, jet lag style, because the Champions League group stage now is always going to end at the end of January. So I know we've all got this in our head, like maybe like mid-December is like halfway through the season, because that's normally when Champions League group stage happens. A lot of leagues go on winter break then also, blah, blah, blah. But maybe now we need to move our mindset a little bit to end of Jan being like the real kind of halfway point across all competitions or whatever.
As I said, we have to cope with it and manage it the best possible way we can.
Yeah.
In the wider kind of context, we've got 2 teams in Europe in January, but both squads are going to be battered for 6 weeks solid before they get to that game. We're trying to kind of elevate the national level in Europe, aren't we? We're not really helping matters by doing this, have we?
Well, certainly it doesn't help. It doesn't help, and but hopefully going forward, we can find solutions to that. I think, as you say, the spotlight will be on ourselves and Rangers in European competitions, and but like you say, you're going to come out the back end of a really
It's just weird that you couldn't have odd numbers for a league, because I'm sitting looking at that like, yeah, it's just, you're never going to have a 19 team league, are you? It's just not going to, everything needs to be even numbers, doesn't it? But so even if it was 18 and then, you know, because you then play 17, it's 34, that'd be slim. But I think that would be great for the game ultimately.
Really grueling schedule. So, but like I said, we have to cope with it, and maybe in the future, the organisers and guys can look at ways of which can help.
You're always a big advocate of the winter break, and invariably our teams did kind of kick on.
I know the chat with the press conference is winter break, right? But I do think, like, in line with what Strangelove is saying here, I think a bigger part of the benefit is you then do the exact same thing with the division below, where you just crush all 3 of those divisions and you make it like a championship situation where there's like 24 teams in it. And again, they all just play each other once. Big promotion set up, you know, first 1 and 2 go up automatically, perhaps. And then the bottom of Scottish football is way closer to the top. So then, like, getting a game for anyone in that division is like a big deal for any player that wants to have a career. And then that just then generates more talent into more places. everyone's closer to the top. Anyone can be Blackpool, you know, like, and get promoted, have a good year. Okay, we get relegated, but you got some cash for it, you know, and it just, yeah, I could talk about this all day, but yeah, drinking the same tea as ever, mate.
After it, is that something you'd like to see reinstated if at all possible?
If it was ever possible, I think it's for the greater good of the game, for supporters. You know, you look at the January schedule as well. You think of the finances for supporters. Ultimately, you know, you come off the back of a Christmas period, you're into sort of a run of games. Quickly, the kids want to go, the people want to come to the games, and I know the Celtic supporters and supporters in general will do everything they can to get to football games, but it might be also, you know, nice for them to have a wee bit of relief from that pressure of finding money and for travel and for food and for everything to get to football games. So, but for players and yeah, I definitely do. I think the schedule is only getting greater and heavier, and that will have an impact on players' injuries because they're not robots. They're absolutely not. Like, players are not as fit as players have ever been in the history of the game. However, they aren't robots, and they need that recovery time. And you know, I seen a schedule in there at the end of for the end of this season. You know, you've got like a Champions League final, and 2 weeks later there's a Club World Championship starting in America. Like, how are you supposed to? You know, how are you supposed to recover? How are you supposed to get yourself ready again? It's a real challenge for the modern player and especially the top.
By the way, I love low key how Brendan Rodgers is looking at when the Champions League final is. We are getting out of the group, guys. You know, why not? Why not at least look at it, Brendan? Love how you're thinking, mate.
Player, but I think in general that circuit breaker is good for everyone. And if there's ever a way for it to come in, then of course I'd be very supportive of that.
Is there a player safety issue as well, Brendan? I mean, these players, you mentioned how fit they are now, but they're pushing their bodies to the maximum here. There's bound to be breakdowns along the way. There
will be, yeah, and I think that's the why us as managers and coaches and will speak on that in that terms, because we see the players every day, we see physically what they put in, we see the resilience that they have, but they are not machines. They're not machines, and we want to produce the best football that we can for supporters, so they get the value for money. You never want it to be a slog. You never want the tempo to drop and all these types of things. But that will invariably happen once, as I said, you're just churning out all these games and with very, very little recovery in between.
And I think you said after the Rangers match, perhaps the points gap was so big the players might have subconsciously had an effect on that. Given that the points gap is now 15, do you have to say to him, don't be distracted by this?
No, listen, firstly, the points gap is there because we've been so consistent. That's the reality of it. Whatever points another team gets, I can look at ourselves and know that the consistency of this team has been very, very good. And when you have that consistency, then in a competition, that can be a big advantage. You know, that resilience, that mentality, that focus.
I do agree. If it was the second string guys that were getting banged up and a wee bit questionable, we wouldn't be talking about it as much, of course. But that would just be an underlying element that as soon as then like one key player gets injured, you then get a list. So I'm kind of with you, but not, yeah, somewhere in the middle.
In order to get those results, that allows you to build that gap. But absolutely, I don't think it's one we can ever take our foot off the pedal. The Rangers game.
I think nowadays the way it goes, especially when you're in this like English Premier League, Scottish Premiership kind of schedule, is that all your training is done pre-season, and then really after that it is just what Duncan has got here on the chat. You know, prep, recover. You know, set. You know, like just eat, sleep, repeat. Eat, sleep, play, repeat. You know, kind of thing. So think that's just the way it is now. I think that's the way they prepare, which is why pre-season is so important, because you need to get into not just like the tactical picture, but you need to also get into that exact same physical rhythm as everyone else, so that they can manage minutes and protect everyone and maximize probably the most understated part of that element of the game. Maximize, get the most out of people in the best way, help them hit their ceilings. So yeah, I think that's just the way it is now.
At Ibrox a few weeks back, yeah, that was it. Listen, I know it's sport, you can lose, but the general intensity of our game was nowhere near anywhere where I would expect it to be and wanted to be at. So that's a great learning, and the game has been a learning opportunity for us, because you can't be not that competitive in a game of that magnitude. And my teams have never been that in the main, and I wouldn't expect them to be anywhere near that level again. So, but the learning opportunity was that, and the simplicity of it. If you don't put the effort in and the work rate, you won't get your wins. And this is what this team have been brilliant at consistently. They produce, and that's what we focus on. It's what our messaging is, and it's what we demand every single day.
Are you surprised that you're 15 points ahead, Brendan? 10th of January, 15-point gap.
It doesn't really matter now, if I'm honest. We just have to keep.
I think this is kind of telling to, like, we know we've won the league. We're still taking it totally seriously. We still want to win every game. But like the fact that like everyone's injured this weekend, like nobody's breaking a sweat over it.
Churning out the results and performances. You can only win your games. I think, as I've said before, I repeat, the consistency of which the players have shown is a great testament to them, because that can get overlooked. You know, the focus can always be about team points and whatever else. But I can only look at my team and the club as a whole, the consistency and the level of which you can repetitively perform and win after winning. It's not an easy thing to do, and there's many examples of that. But this group and the mentality and the club as a whole, consistently, how we keep going, it's really good, and we want to keep doing that.
Is anything being confirmed in terms of any players going out on loan? There was talk of
So I guess that kind of, but does he come back to? I remember how he comes back to it, but I just want to quickly, before we get into the transfer stuff, just look at the team as we left it earlier. Some of you are joining the stream now. Thanks for everyone that's joining us live, by the way. Thanks to everyone that's catching us after we've been live, of course, once again. But this is the kind of options available, as it were. We've just kind of crowded the screen. I do think like Kyogo has to start surely now in this game. Like, you know, and Kyogo and Ida. Kyogo starting on one side, Yang on the other feels like the easy thing to do here. But does Rodgers still just play one striker and then play like McCowan wide right and Yang left? I've just got a funny feeling this is a great game for Johnny Kenny to get an appearance. You know, like if Kyogo and Ida start, then you've got Kenny coming on the pitch probably at some point in the game. I say probably. Because it could then, if he did that, like I mentioned before, let's move Valley and Yang to one side, right? And Kenny. Let's imagine you start Kyogo. Mouse is always useless on this system, by the way. There we go. Let's put Kenny here, and there we go. No phantom clicks. So if we started like this, like, because we know this team is going to diamond up. Somebody was mentioning Taylor might stifle the ground, but I think you actually want Taylor to come in here, because we know Rio is just going to like forward support. And yeah, like I think against a diamond, like we can have a diamond still with this kind of situation here. We've then got a lot of width coming from Alistair Johnson. The centre backs are going to do what they do, obviously. And then Kyogo, like if we're coming down the right hand side, Kyogo just do what Maeda does and just come in inside forward. And if we are coming down the right, then Tate needs the freedom to be over here as well, to just have that overload and run and all the rest of it. And Taylor does that as well anyway. So that feels like the strongest way to go into this game if he is going to give his pal Don Cowie. And again, you don't know the fitness of everyone. He did say everyone's fine, but there might still be preferences of who to play and who not to play. I think that it's still open that Valley could play either from left back and just be width and allow Kyogo to stay that kind of narrow spot that we're talking about. Or even just maybe in left wing himself, and maybe even Kyogo on the right or McCowan on the right or something like that. If he was going to go for maybe even just an either or, situation with Ida or Kyogo again, like we mentioned a second ago. So I wouldn't rule Valley out. I think there's a really high chance he features now, and he could be like featuring in at left mid or something like that. Do you remember we had games under Ange where people were playing in mad positions, and I'm sure it was against Ross County away, by the way. I'm sure we had a mad game, Ross County away. We're going to really need to scroll back through the annals of time for this. So I'm no guarantee that I'll find it right, but I'll go and try and look for it. Away to Ross County. Oh, there's one there. We won 3-0. Oh, yeah, but November time, 2023. Let's check that out. No, not that one. So it would have been before that. Maybe some of you guys in the chat will remember. If you do, March, no. There we go. December 21. We won 2-1. Oh, this feels like it could be it. Yeah, this is it. Oh, I'm so glad I found it. Guess who was playing right? Oh my God, look at the whole front three. Juranovic, Abada, Montgomery. 15th of December 2021. We won 2-1. Starfelt gets sent off. Is this not the Ralston goal game? It feels like the Ralston goal game, doesn't it? Beaton in centre mid with Turnbull. Scales at left back. Deja to the vu on this one, big time. So, like, and I know that was way different times, but Montgomery's training with the first team. Do we put him into the picture all of a sudden? I'm not too sure. I think like one thing I'm quite settled on is I do think McKeown Engels is like going to be a thing. I would love to see Rio play it out wide, but I think it could be Kyogo on the left, Yang on the right. I think that's how we're going to shape up now. And you get Kenny from the bench, you've got Valley from the bench, Bernardo from the bench, and maybe Montgomery. Yeah. Ralston header game. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. It's a great game. Nice memory, isn't it? But what a random front three. And it feels like that's the sort of game we've got in front of us this time. Hopefully there's no red cards. Scales has got experience of this. So, yeah, it could be a good one. I did quite like the idea of Johnson being the width, but if we did have McKeown out here and starting Hatate. But I suppose that's if you're really like, oh, we have to beat Ross County. And we don't. Dundee midweek is way more important just for like confidence and form, because like this game you can take as this kind of like buffer game, I think, between the last block of fixtures and then Dundee, Kelly, Young Boys. Like I think you can use this as a kind of buffer game and maybe, yeah, I'd maybe just go with something like this. Get Kyogo the minutes. He needs to go. Ida needs to go. Just get them both on the pitch. You know what I mean? Just get them both the chance to get their confidence up. And then when you do come back to you need to pick one, it's great, you know. And then the bench is bringing goals for whoever is starting on the bench out the two of them. So I think this is my hunch for what the team is going to be now against Ross County this weekend. And then Brendan goes on to talk about some transfer stuff.
Maybe moving out, is anything actually been confirmed as of yet?
Hopefully that will be confirmed soon. He's due to go out on loan. Obviously, Stephen, whilst he's gone away to get some game time. There may be one or two others over the course of the window, but yeah, just at the moment there's lots of conversations both in and out, and we'll see what develops.
Kyogo, there was a strange situation the other night where MLS announced he was on his way to Atlanta. It was obviously a mistake, but obviously it's maybe got some Celtic fans worried that there might be something in that from Atlanta's side. You heard anything from that? And I know you're keen to add goals in January. You want to lose goals as well, I take it.
Well, I can guarantee he's on the coach and he's travelling to Ross County, so he's certainly not in the MLS. But listen, you know, in this period of time, there's always lots of gossip and speculation around so many players, and especially talented players. So I'm sure that will continue to be the case over the coming weeks.
You must have been taken aback when you heard that. Well, when you were informed that there was an announcement being made that he'd signed for them.
I actually only knew about 5 minutes before coming. Ian told me before I came into here. So
confirmed, Brendan Rodgers doesn't use Twitter. There's no way if he had Twitter, he'd have seen that. Now, we know he subscribes to the channel and he tunes into this content. So he missed the show last night. Maybe it was after his bedtime or something. I'm not too sure. But I can imagine that, yeah, like he'll have like a press briefing before these things, and that could be the first time that he does hear of it. You know, I just wanted to add that thought in.
So that was the first I'd heard of it. So I was a wee bit surprised. But
How are you finding this January window? Has it been slightly skewed with this European games now in January? Is it a case of maybe having to wait longer than maybe otherwise, or how are you finding it in general this window because incomings?
yeah, no, I'm fine. But we obviously have been working hard over the number of months leading up to this here period, and as I said, we're very hopeful that we can get players in that we would like. But always availability and the affordability of players is always something that is a challenge in this month. But I'm fairly confident that we will be able to bring in the necessary changes to the squad that can help us. You know, I've
Changes.
said before, I want to be able to bring in more attack and threat and more goals into our squad. I think January is always a really good month in order to add that freshness to your team. So
Nicely speaking about January in a positive sense for once, rather than it's a tough time to do business crap.
it's just about obviously getting those deals over the line. So I'm fairly hopeful that we can do that.
In terms of like Daizen and Nicolas Kuhn and even maybe James Forrest, but the European game in a week or so, are they in doubt for that kind of period? Are they going to be? Is it just?
No, I don't think so. James certainly won't.
We get further clarification on their injuries, and that'll be the end of the podcast, not the press conference.
Available. I don't think. And the two boys, like I said, they could be ready for Tuesday. Daizen's obviously played a lot of football. Just felt something that we didn't want to aggravate. He's gone for a scan, so it's not too serious, but just rules him out of this game. And likewise with Nicolas, he felt something just in the warm up. Had the scan, nothing too serious, but just too much of a risk, and won't be able to go this weekend. So keep them here, get the treatment, and then we'll assess them for Tuesday's game.
So Kuhn and Daizen left at home. Forrest not in the picture, of course, as well. And probably the only other alternative I would add into what the team might look like going into the Ross County game is maybe a wee tactical tweak of sorts, and that would include maybe like you play McKeown, McGregor and Dengels and Tatati, and then you're leaving poor Bernardo on the bench by himself to be the only midfield sub to come on, since Odenholm's probably on a private jet to LA right now. So rather threadbare, so team needs to be able to win. It's probably not in a good way, right? But imagine we did beat Rangers, and then this was the potential game that would have ruined like a period without loss. Let's just put it. So I guess that pressure is kind of gone already. That's not even something that's in the agenda at all. It's a wee bit of pressure off, gives everyone their time to shine perhaps and go on and win this game for us. Really like the press conference in general. It was maybe like I would have liked another bit of questioning off the back of that breaking news of like, what's your plans? Like, how do you what you think about Kyogo then? Or what do you think, like a wee bit more like, so what are you doing about it? Give us something. And he's not going to give away the team or anything like that, but there could be something like, Yang's had a lot of chances. Is this another chance for him to really, use the previous experiences to maybe finally like show something in a game like this where he basically knows he's got to be getting 90 minutes at this point, hasn't he? Same with the likes of Ida and Kyogo. They've been short of goals. What do you think? Did both of them play on the pitch? A wee bit of that was missing, but otherwise good press conferences, nice questions, great intel that we got from it. And full on Ross County. It's going to be a really interesting game. I'm always excited, not excited, extra, and I also have an extra level of interest when I don't need the headphones anymore, when there might be something different happening, or there might be a slightly different approach. Normally that's with new players, but in this case, it might be the tactics down to the availability. Thanks for everyone that's tuned into this, especially if you've been watching while we've been live. If you've watched this after we've been live, thank you very much. Please do show your support for the content by hitting the like button. Get into the comment section, many thoughts and feelings and all that good stuff. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you're going to the game, Brendan was saying it about how it's a nice scenic drive. It is a nice scenic drive, but please do travel safe because it is an arduous drive. And for all you that are going to the game, otherwise, I hope you all have a great time. Have a great weekend. Hail, hail. And we'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.